Welcome back. Let us assume you have bought a portable drive from online or computer shop and you have connected this particular portable drive to your desktop or the laptop. These drives can be of 1 TB, 2 TB or 4 TB. Because the portable drives comes with pre-formatted from the factory itself, once you connect the portable drive to your desktop or the laptop, it gets automatically detected and there will be also a file system which might be created from the factory itself. So there is no need to format or create a file system when you buy a portable drive. You need to just copy from your old drive or from any of the drive which you want to the portable drive which you have connected. These drives are connected via USB port to your desktop or your laptop. So connecting a portable drive to your laptop or your desktop should not be much problem. And once you connect the portable drive to your desktop or your laptop, the drive will be visible as a new drive on your computer. So there is only one drive now because this is the drive which has the operating system here, and this is for recovery and this is for system partition. Once you connect the portable drive, you should be able to see another drive somewhere here, and it should be prompting as disk number 1. Disk. It should come as disk 1. So connecting the portable drive should not be a problem. You should be able to see the file system and you can copy the files from different drives to the portable drive. In some of the cases, when you buy a portable drive from computer shop or online, it doesn't even contain a formatted capacity or it doesn't even have any file system created from the factory. In that particular case, we need to follow certain steps to create format and also to create file system. This is the same steps what we have to follow when we have expansion slots which is available on your desktop or your laptop. These expansion slots depends on the device which you have bought. Some of the device might not have any expansion slot. Expansion slots are basically the free slots which are available to add additional capacity to your desktop or your laptop. Visit your manufacturer website and see what kind of interface the laptop or your desktop supports. It can be of SATA, SAS, IDE. The older desktop or the laptops comes with IDE interface, and the newer laptop or the desktop comes with M.2 interface. Also check if your laptop has free expansion slot. Let me show you how to check the device interface and what is the maximum storage which a laptop or a desktop can support. I will go to a sample tech specs for Legion Pro 5 Gen 8. Let us see what is the tech spec for this laptop and what is the maximum storage it can support, and also how to check what interface a particular laptop or desktop will support. So I am into Lenovo.com and I am checking tech specs for Legion Pro 5 Gen 8. Let us see what is the storage this particular laptop supports. If I come down, I'll be able to see the specs for this laptop. It clearly shows that it supports 1 TB SSD M.2. So this particular laptop comes with 1 TB SSD as a basic feature with M.2 interface. Let us scroll down and see what is the maximum storage this particular laptop is going to support. If you notice, this laptop supports 2 TB maximum, which is 1 TB in one slot and the another 1 TB in another slot. By this, we can come to conclusion that there are two M.2 slots. Each slot support 1 TB SSD drive. So you have gone through your device manufacturer website and checked what is the interface which your desktop or your laptop is going to support and what is the maximum storage you can add to your desktop or laptop. Now you have decided to install the new drive for your device. Before installing the new drive, there is a warning you need to follow. Do not open the desktop or laptop cover unless you know what exactly you are going to do, because some of the laptop has very delicate cover. If you try to open, it might break. And also, before doing any kind of format or creating file system, always ensure that you take a backup of your copy. The next step is, assuming that you have installed a new drive and you are going to format and create a file system, let us do in the next step. Once you have installed the new drive, you should be able to detect the new drive. Simply click on the start menu, right click on the start menu and select disk management. The new drive, if it is installed, there should be a pop-up window which shows clearly about the drive which has been installed. Let me cancel this. And in the disk management, you should be able to see the disk which is blank. So this is the disk what we have installed on our laptop, and this is a 256 GB disk. Initially, it will tell you as it is not initialized and this will be an unknown disk. And if you also see, this disk shows as disk number 1. If you wanted to create a file system, you need to format this particular drive and you can create a file system. Before creating the format, you need to right click on the disk itself and initialize the disk. So basically you need to click on the disk here and you need to initialize the disk. Initialize disk 1. Once you initialize the disk will show as online. So once you see this particular disk is online, you will be seeing this entire space is unallocated disk space. To use this disk space, what you have to do is you have to simply right click and select new simple volume. Click on next and there is a dialog box which will open. You can use the entire disk space of 256 GB, or if you wanted to use only part of the disk space, you can enter. I just wanted to enter only 150 GB, so I'll use 150 GB. Also, you have an option to assign a drive letter from the available drive letter. You can choose whichever drive letter you want. I will select the default, which is free, which is E. I'll use the same drive letter as E and click on next. Here you can name the volume label. I will name it as SSD internal. If you want, you can enable this perform quick format so that the format will be very fast. If you disable this, it will take some time and you need to wait until the format completes. So I wanted to use quick format. Let me click on next and select finish. Now, if you see, out of 256 GB, this particular space is still free, and I have the space of 150 GB, which is assigned with E letter. After formatting and creating a file system, you should be able to see a new drive with a drive letter E. And this is 150 GB which we have created. This is a blank disk. If you open the drive, it doesn't contain any data. So I'll copy some of the data from one of the folder. I can simply copy and paste to the new drive letter. So these are the steps what you need to follow to add a drive, format the drive, create a file system. In our previous video, what we have done is we have installed a drive, formatted that particular drive, created a file system, and named the drive as E drive. In Windows, there is something called as mount point. Mount point. This mount point is used in case if you don't want to use the drive letter as E, F. Basically, you don't want to use any alphabets for your drive letter, and you wanted to go with Unix style of creating the file system. Mount point is basically to use Unix or Linux method of file system. For example, in Linux, you use /etc /dev /mnt. In case if you wanted to follow the same kind of format in Windows, Windows has given an option to use the mount point. Let us see how we can use the mount point in Windows. I have added a new drive which is of 128 GB. Let us create a mount point out of this 128 GB. For that, we need to go to the disk management, right click on the start and select disk management. Expand. I'll say OK, because this is the new drive which the Windows has detected. And as I said, I have added a new drive which is of 128 GB. Now I wanted to create this drive as a mount point. In order to create a mount point for the newly installed drive which is of 128 GB, what I have to do is I have to go to the E drive. Let me open the E drive. This drive, this is the same drive, E drive, and I will create a folder by name share. I will create a folder by name share, and inside the share I will also create another folder to mount the 128 GB drive, which is called mount 128 GB drive. So you have created share and mount 128 GB drive. These are two simple folders which are empty folders which doesn't contain any user data. So these are two very simple folders. It doesn't even contain any data. It is empty folders. Now you have to come to the drive and select the drive and click new simple volume. Click on next. I am using the entire space for this mount point. Click next. There are two options which are shown here. Either you can go with selecting the drive letter, or you can use the mount point, which we are doing now. Because I know where exactly I have created the folder, I will browse for the folder and select the drive where I have created the folder, share and mount. This is a folder which will be used to mount this particular 128 GB drive. I will select OK. If you notice, there is also one option. In case if you have not created the folder beforehand, you can even create the folder using new folder. So after selecting the folder, I will click OK. Click on OK. Click Next. Choose the default options to create a file system. You can name the volume label. I will simply name this as mount 128 GB. This is a volume label, nothing to do with the mount point. And I will choose perform a quick format. You can read the summary. Finish. If you notice, there is no drive letter assigned. This volume label is called as mount 128 GB. If you wanted to change the mount 128 GB volume properties, and you can come and assign any name for this volume. You can come back and assign any name for this volume at any given point of time. It doesn't have any issues. After creating the mount point, go to the particular folder where you have mounted, go to the share, and if you see this icon has turned into drive icon. Open. Basically, this is an empty folder. You don't see any files or folders here. What I will do is I'll simply copy some data and paste here in the mount folder. We know that this is a folder which is used to mount 128 GB drive. You can see the size of this mount point which is given here. Once you mounted and you have copied all the folders or files here, even if you delete this folder, because this is a folder, it doesn't have any files or folders. This is just using a reference point to mount the 128 GB disk onto this folder. Even if you delete this folder, the data whatever you have copied to the mount 001, it will remain as it is. For that, you can simply go ahead and assign a drive letter F. Let me assign a drive letter F and see if the content or the data and folders are still available. You go to the folder, see all your data is there, which is available in the F drive. In case if you don't want to assign a drive letter, you can simply remove the drive letter and again you can mount to a particular folder. Click on browse. I will select share and I will create a folder by name mount 01. I will mount this particular drive again to the mount 01 folder, which is nothing but a mount point. Click on OK. Click on OK. Go to the drive, E drive, where you have created the folder share. Open the folder, mount, and you will see all your files remain intact. The folder, whatever you have created for the mount, that is a reference point. Unless you delete these files, inside the mount point, you are not deleting the files or folders. If you delete this, the reference point, you can simply delete this. Nothing will happen to your files or folders. But if you come inside the folder and if you delete all these files and folders, there will be no data inside that particular 128 GB drive. This is how you can mount the drive to any given folder, and instead of assigning a drive letter, you can simply use Linux style of creating a mount point. In our previous video, we have seen how to add a drive, format a drive, and create a file system. Also, we have created a file system and named that particular drive as E drive. If you notice, we add a total of 250 GB of space, which is the drive space, and we used only 150 GB out of 250 GB. So there is a remaining space of 100 GB. Assuming that this drive is already full or almost nearing to full, and you wanted to expand this particular E drive, in that case, it is very easy to expand and there will be no data loss. Even if you have some files or some data what you have copied onto your E drive, for example, let us take the total number of files what you have. There are 8 files totally, and this is of 6.49 MB of the size. Let us expand the drive using the disk management. Right click on the start, click on disk management. You will get the disk management window, and if you wanted to use the free space, this particular free space, it will show as unallocated space. The used space, it will show as there is a file system created, and also it has got the drive letter as E. Now I wanted to expand this drive. I can simply click on extend volume, click on next, and it will tell you which drive you are going to expand and what is the total size you wanted to expand. So I wanted to use the entire disk space which is available as a free space. I'll simply click on next. If you want to use only part of this 100 GB, let us say you want only 50 GB, then you can even enter only 50 GB here, and you can click on next to expand, so that this drive will become 150 GB plus 50 GB, which is 200 GB. So I'll click on next and finish. If you see, this particular drive has completely expanded and there is no free space available. If you open the drive, the data whatever which was there already, it will exist as it is. There will be no impact to your data. And if you also verify the data which was there, click on properties and you will see it has the same space and there are total 8 files. So this is how you can expand your drive and use the free space which is available on your drive. In this video, let us understand and see if we have 2 drives which has been installed on your PC or your laptop. This is of 128 GB and this is of 128 GB. Can we club these 2 drives as one drive? And make this drive into 256 GB, one big drive. In Windows 11, there is an option to combine multiple disks, and you can use the total sum of all the disks which are combined together. For that, we need to follow some steps. Let me explain what are the steps which we need to follow. For that, we need to go to disk management. I have added one more disk which is called as disk 3. Let me click on OK. If you notice, I have two drives, which is 128 GB one drive here, and there is another 128 GB drive here. This is named disk 2 and disk 3. So I wanted to combine these two drives together and make it as a single drive to appear, which will be of 256 GB. For that, what I have to do is I have to simply right click on the disk itself, and I need to create a spanned volume. I'll create a spanned volume, click on next, and it will automatically tell what is the drive which doesn't have file system. Because whenever there is a file system which is already there, like your C drive or D drive, if it has a file system already created, you don't want to destroy that file system. If you destroy that file system, all your data, whatever you have stored, it will be lost. So be careful whenever you are doing anything on the disk management. So now this is disk 3, which is of free space. Windows automatically detected, okay, disk 3 is empty and it doesn't contain any data. You can use this disk 3. I will select the disk 3 and add to the selected disks. So both the disks are now selected, which needs to be combined. One more thing to note is, if you are combining these two disks, it doesn't mean that these two disks has to be of the same size or same capacity. This can be of 128 GB, this can be of 64 GB, or this can be of 2 TB as well. The other point is, if you destroy this particular drive, or this is lost, or you have unplugged this drive will become unusable. Basically, whatever you have stored on these drives combined together, if one of the drive is pulled out or it has problem with the hardware, it has malfunctioned. So both these drives will be unusable, and whatever data you have stored, it will not be available. This is one important point which to be noted. So after selecting these two drives, I will click on next. And if you wanted to assign a drive letter, you can simply go ahead and assign the drive letter. I am not going to assign the drive letter here. So I will select the mount point again, click on the browse and select the share, and I will choose another mount point which is called as spanned mount, because this is the spanned volume. I have combined both the disks, and I'll select OK to create a mount point to be used for this particular drive. Click on next, and it will ask to create the file system. Again, I will give this as spanned vol 1. This, as I said, nothing to do with your data or your label or your mount point. It is just the volume label whatever you wanted to give or whatever name you wanted to assign for the drive, you can simply go ahead and assign. It doesn't make any difference. And I will also select perform a quick format. Click on next. Read the summary and click on finish. Again, it will pop up one more dialog box saying that these two disks are basically a basic disk. These disks will be converted to dynamic disk. Once you convert from basic to dynamic, you will not be able to revert back to the basic disk. So I will select yes. Now the spanned volume has been created. Basically, this means the volume, whatever you have chosen to combine, both the volumes have been combined together and has been created as one single drive, and it is also mounted in the path where you have selected, which is E drive and share folder and spanned mount. Now I can simply copy some of the files to just to do some trial and error and paste it in the volume which we have created. So the volume is there, and also the files, whatever we have copied, that is also there. You can delete this volume. As I said, you can simply delete this volume. Nothing will happen to your data. This will remain intact. The data, whatever you have copied, that will remain intact. Only the reference point is deleted. Again, you can simply go ahead and assign a drive letter if you want, or you can create the mount point again. I'll select the mount point, share. I don't want to use this mount point. I'll create a new mount point which is called spanned volume mount, and I will give the reference folder for this mount point as spanned volume mount. I'll click on OK. Click OK. Go to the folder. There is a reference mount point which is created. Inside the mount point, you will see all the folders, all the files and folders, whatever you have copied. So all the folders and files will be intact. This is how you can combine the drive together and make it as one bigger drive. Only one concern is you need to be very careful. Whenever you remove one drive, this drive will become unusable. So using the span drive should be very careful. In some of the cases, it is required in most of the laptops or any desktop. In a normal scenario, you will not be using the span volume. This is just to explain how you can combine the disks when you don't have space. In our previous video, we have seen we had two drives of 128 GB and 128 GB, and we were able to combine these two drives as one single drive, and we were able to make it as one big 256 GB drive. There is another concept in Windows in the same disk management. When you convert any basic disk to dynamic disk, these are the features which are automatically enabled. You have features like spanned volume, striped volume, RAID 5, mirrored volume. All these features are only enabled when you convert basic disk to dynamic disk. These features have come since Windows 2000, and it is still continuing in all the Windows operating system till now. Let us discuss about mirroring. when you create a mirrored volume in Windows 11, what will happen is, if you have copied a data A, this particular data will be copied here, data A. Even if one of the drive fails, the data whatever available in another drive, it will be intact. It will be available until both the data is lost or both the drives are malfunctioning because of hardware issues. In span drive, what happened was, these drives, if one of the drive fails, this drive, even though this is good, it will become unrecoverable and all your data will be lost in the span drive configuration. In mirrored drive configuration, the data will be copied to another drive and you will have the data intact. The same data will be copied to another drive. The capacity at any given point of time, it will be always 128 GB because the other drive will be used for mirroring. This you can use for copying the data. In case you have very critical data and you wanted to take the backup, you can simply convert the basic disk to dynamic disk and enable the mirroring so that all your data will be intact. Only problem is, these disks which I have converted, it will be available only on your Windows operating system. Because these disks are converted from basic to dynamic, it will be available only on your Windows operating system, which is Windows 11 Professional and above, or Windows Server operating system. You need to connect these disks to any of the operating system and you will be able to view the content of the drives. So let us go back to the disk management and see how we will be able to configure the mirrored volume in Windows 11 Professional. So I'll go to the disk management. You can see here I have two disks of the same capacity, 128 GB. I will configure the mirroring, and if you notice, these two disks are basic disk. You can convert by right-clicking to dynamic disk. You can select one disk at a time and convert to dynamic disk, or else in the process of configuring mirrored volume, you will be able to convert from basic to dynamic. So let us create a mirrored volume and click next. Select the disk which you wanted to use for mirrored volume. I am selecting disk 3. Click on add. Click next. And you have an option to assign the drive letter, or you can assign mount point. I will assign drive letter this time. Let me click on next. You have an option to select the file system. I will keep all the information as default. Only I will change the volume label as mirrored. Click on perform a quick format so that the format will be quick and it doesn't take much time. Finish. You can read the summary, which will be very useful, and finish. As I said, it is asking me to convert the basic disk of these two disks into dynamic disk. Click on yes. I have converted the disks from basic disk to dynamic disk, which you can see here. Now it is showing as mirrored. These two are mirrored volume. So whatever data you copy here, the same data will be mirrored here. Let us try and copy some data and see what will happen if we remove one of the disk from the disk management. I will go to the folder and select the drive, F drive. To make things simpler, what I will do is I will copy some data to the mirrored volume. I have copied some data here. As I said, whatever you copy here, this will be copied to another disk as well. I'll make this disk as offline. So this disk is now offline and it is having failed redundancy, and this disk is also showing failed redundancy because one of the drive which was part of the mirror is failed. But this disk is online. Let us see and confirm whatever data we copied to the mirrored volume, it is intact or it is not available. Let me go to the F drive and see. You are able to see the files and folders, whatever you have copied. Show more options, refresh, and the F drive is available. Unless you make this drive also offline, the data will not be available. See, both the drives are offline now. You don't see the F drive here. But if you make the drive online again, one of the drive, if you make online again, the drive will come as a foreign disk. As I said, whenever there is a failure of one of the disk and your operating system has crashed and you wanted to recover your data, you have to connect this particular disk, whatever you have converted from basic disk to dynamic disk, attach these disks to another laptop or desktop where Windows 11 Professional or higher operating system is running, or Windows Server operating system is running, and you will be able to see your content. I have to click import foreign disk. Okay. Then this is the same thing what you have to do when you remove and connect to another computer. So I'll make this also as online. Before making this online, let me see if the F drive is visible. See, this drive is visible and all the contents are also available. Let me make the another drive also online. So I have made the another drive as online, but still it is showing as foreign drive. What I have to do is I have to import foreign disk. OK. And I'll select OK. Because these two disks were part of mirroring, it has automatically recognized and it has come back to the redundant state, which is mirrored state. Now your data will be available when you open the F drive. So all your data and all the contents are available. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you and take care.